94% is the terrifying statistic that represents the volume of trades touching a high-frequency trading algorithm within mere milliseconds of execution. This figure forces us to confront an uncomfortable truth about the modern financial landscape that most retail traders simply refuse to acknowledge or even understand. It means your market activity is never a clean, isolated interaction with price or value, but rather an immediate and dangerous engagement with an invisible, relentlessly logical machine that exists solely to seek out and exploit your predictable human behavior. You are not just trading against other people in a fair arena. You are trading inside a digital ecosystem that is fundamentally rigged against your organic flaws and biological limitations. The market is no longer a battle of human versus human. It has evolved into a war of cold logic versus vulnerable biology, where the speed of light dictates the winner. This is the secret control that the title of this video warns you about. And it is not a single malicious entity or a conspiracy theory, but the collective, ubiquitous force of algorithms that govern liquidity, order flow, and price manipulation. These systems do not need to hack your computer terminal or steal your passwords, because they have already hacked your mind through the predictability of your emotional responses. Every impulsive entry you make, every moment of hesitation you feel, and every panicked exit you execute are emotional signatures that these algorithmic shadows are designed to recognize, predict, and profit from instantly. They know you will panic before you even feel the fear. And they are preparing to take your money the moment your biology dictates your action, leaving you wondering why the market turned exactly when you sold. The fundamental crisis we face is one of pure survival in an environment that has outpaced our evolution. If you continue to trade with unassisted, raw human emotion in this digital age, you are positioning yourself as the easiest, most lucrative target in the global financial system. Your trading decisions are not entirely your own. They are often subconscious responses to pressure points deliberately tested by systems that do not blink, do not fatigue, and certainly do not feel regret or hesitation. The question you must confront today is severe and demands an honest answer. Do you truly believe your limited supply of human willpower is superior to the computational power of multi-million-dollar institutional intelligence? The answer determines whether you are the player or the game. The only viable response to this overwhelming threat is to stop fighting the machine and start fighting code with better code. You must implement your own personal counterintelligence system, which we call the execution shield. This is the technological defense that allows you to retain your creative intelligence and unique market insight, while delegating the mechanical, emotion-sensitive tasks to a dedicated artificial intelligence of your own. This shift turns you from the target into the risk manager, structurally protected from the algorithmic shadow that is constantly hunting for your stop loss. It is a fundamental change in how you view your role, shifting from a warrior in the trenches to a general commanding a fortified position. This shield directly addresses the psychological law laid down by the legendary Mark Douglas, who taught us that consistency comes from the absolute acceptance of risk. Douglas knew that accepting risk is a concept that is neurologically impossible for an unassisted human to sustain over long periods of stress. He knew the principles, but he lacked the technology to enforce them in real time. We do not have that excuse anymore. We can now hard-code absolute risk acceptance into your environment, making rule-breaking structurally impossible rather than merely a test of your personal fortitude. We are taking the burden of discipline off your shoulders and placing it onto a server that cannot feel fear. Consider the core function of the algorithmic shadow, which is liquidity seeking. Algorithms constantly test the edges of the market, trying to identify clusters of stop orders and points of emotional capitulation where traders will vomit their positions. They are actively baiting you into a reaction. When price moves quickly against you, your stress hormone response spikes, effectively shutting down the logic center of your brain and leaving you defenseless. This physiological hijack is the exact moment the external algorithms are programmed to exploit, knowing you will provide the necessary, panicked liquidity they need to fill their institutional orders. You are literally funding their profits with your biological reaction to pain. The behavioral guardrail system is the critical countermeasure you need to install immediately. It is an AI script that operates beneath the surface of your terminal, monitoring for the specific biological signature of market distress and panic. It watches for rapid shifts in unrealized loss combined with an immediate, frantic increase in mouse clicks or keyboard activity that suggests you have lost control. If this specific signature of distress is detected, the guardrail activates to protect you from yourself. It acts as an unbiased observer that spots the signs of a mental breakdown before it impacts your wallet. This guardrail doesn't ask for your permission or offer a suggestion. It simply enforces a pause. It disables the execution button for a predetermined, short period, just long enough for the initial spike of stress hormones to subside and for your rational brain to come back online. This simple, automatic friction breaks the emotional circuit, preventing you from feeding your position to the liquidity-seeking algorithms at the worst possible moment. The machine saves you from the physiological flaw of the human mind by acting when you cannot. It is the seatbelt that locks when the car brakes too hard, saving your life regardless of your driving skill. Furthermore, the algorithmic shadow secretly influences your focus through the weaponization of information overload. By generating massive amounts of data, news flow, and noise, the market creates a state of cognitive fatigue that slows your decision-making and pushes you toward reliance on primitive gut feelings. A tired mind is a mind easily manipulated by the most recent, sensational headline or the flashing lights of a price spike. The algorithms know that if they can overwhelm your processing power, you will revert to bad habits, and they flood the zone with noise to ensure that happens. AI provides the necessary solution of strategic cognitive offloading. It acts as a relentless filter against the noise. It analyzes thousands of concurrent data streams, including correlations, volume anomalies, and cross-asset divergences. But it presents only the clean, filtered signal directly relevant to your established trade criteria. By delegating this immense processing load to the machine, you conserve your limited mental bandwidth for the strategic, high-level analysis that algorithms cannot yet master. You stop being a frantic data processor and start being a calm, focused executive who makes decisions based on clarity rather than chaos. This is the non-optional upgrade for the modern trader who wishes to survive the next decade. If you continue to bring raw, vulnerable human emotion to a digital arena, you are playing a predetermined role in the algorithm's script as the victim. You must internalize the fact that the control is already external, and the only way to reclaim sovereignty is to install a superior, personal layer of structural, automated control that belongs to you. The market will not become kinder or slower. It will only become faster and more ruthless, meaning your defenses must evolve at the same pace. You must stop fighting your own mind and start augmenting it with the tools available to you. The goal is not to become a robot, but to become a cyborg trader, a hybrid who maintains the unparalleled human ability to synthesize unique market narratives, but who executes with the cold, probabilistic perfection of a machine. This is the new definition of discipline in a world where willpower is obsolete. It is the merger of biological creativity and silicon consistency that creates the ultimate edge. The urgency to make this shift is immediate and critical. Every trade you execute without this structural defense is a high-stakes, unhedged gamble with your own biology. The secret control of the market algorithms is real, and the only escape is through a strategic, technological intervention that stabilizes your most dangerous variable, which is yourself. The transition from vulnerable trader to protected cyborg trader begins with the installation of this digital willpower. You must choose today whether to remain the prey or become the predator. If the algorithmic shadow is the external threat we face, then cognitive warfare is the internal battle it leverages to defeat us from the inside out. The market's secret control is firmly rooted in its ability to precisely trigger universal human biases that lead to predictable, exploitable trading errors time and time again. You are consistently making the same mistakes, not because of a fundamental flaw in your technical analysis or your trading system, but because your mind is being expertly manipulated by the digital pressure points of the market environment. The algorithms do not need to force you to make a bad trade. They simply need to present a specific set of conditions that triggers a hardwired biological response, knowing that 90% of traders will react in the exact same erroneous way. This is not a fair game of skill. It is a psychological operation where your own instincts are weaponized against your capital. Consider the pervasive and destructive trap of anchoring bias, which secretly dictates your exit strategy. You enter a position at $100 and the price drops to $90. You refuse to sell because your mind is firmly anchored to the original $100 price, which you perceive as the true value despite the market screaming that you are wrong. The market algorithms know this human tendency perfectly, and they will deliberately test liquidity at 90, counting on your irrational refusal to realize the loss, thereby making your position an easier target for future stop hunts. They know you are looking at the price you paid, while they are looking at the price that clears the market, and this discrepancy in focus is exactly where the transfer of wealth occurs. You are trading a memory, while the machine is trading reality. The solution is the AI-enforced decision filter, which acts as a firewall for your logic. This is a system that actively monitors your live trades and immediately flags emotional biases before they destroy your capital. Against anchoring, the AI generates a forced pop-up that challenges your logic directly and demands a fresh assessment. It forces you to divorce the emotional memory of your entry price from the objective reality of the current valuation, destroying the anchor that is holding you captive in a losing trade. By asking you if you would buy the asset today at the current price, it exposes the fallacy of holding it simply because you already own it. This intervention breaks the trance of the anchor and restores your ability to act based on current market data rather than past regret. This filter is essential because it provides the practical mirror that strips away self-deception and rationalization. When you are suffering from loss aversion, where the pain of a loss feels twice as potent as the pleasure of an equivalent gain, you naturally hold losers too long and cut winners too short to avoid the sting of failure. The algorithms feed this weakness by creating price uncertainty at key resistance levels, tempting you to exit a profitable trade prematurely just to relieve the tension of the open position. The AI counters loss aversion with a tool we call real-time opportunity cost analysis. The system doesn't focus on the profit and loss, which carries emotional weight. It focuses entirely on capital efficiency, which is purely logical. For a losing trade, it calculates the precise inefficiency of your money sitting dead in that position, compared to what it could earn elsewhere in the market. This reframes the loss as a strategic logistical error rather than a personal emotional failure, enabling a swift, rational exit that preserves your mental capital. It shifts your mindset from a gambler trying to break even to a warehouse manager clearing out damaged inventory to make room for profitable goods. The AI-enforced decision filter combats this through an automated momentum check. If you attempt to enter a market that has moved significantly above the mean in the last hour, the AI pauses the order and requires you to input the maximum drawdown you are willing to accept if the momentum immediately reverses. This deliberate friction forces the acknowledgement of risk exactly when the herd instinct is strongest and most dangerous. It acts as a speed bump for your impulse, forcing you to verify that there is actual substance behind the move, and not just algorithmic noise designed to generate volume. This pause is often the difference between a disastrous entry and a disciplined pass. It applies the brakes when your ego is hitting the accelerator, saving you from giving back all your profits in a single blaze of glory. Jesse Livermore, who frequently destroyed his own fortunes, described the human difficulty of staying objective after a huge win as the greatest danger a trader faces. He lacked the objective third-party audit that could stop him from betting the farm on a feeling. The AI acts as this relentless, unbiased auditor, ensuring that your system, not your current emotional state, dictates the size and frequency of your trades. It protects the integrity of your equity curve from the volatility of your mood swings. This level of augmented self-awareness is the new psychological edge that separates the pros from the gamblers. The control of your trades is hidden not only in the external algorithms, but in the internal biases those algorithms are programmed to exploit. To escape the secret control of the market, you must cease the futile attempt to control your emotions and focus instead on controlling your execution environment. You cannot simply willpower your way out of a biological response that has existed for thousands of years. You must build a structure that accounts for that biology and neutralizes it before it touches your money. The AI-enforced decision filter transforms the battlefield from your mind into your terminal, where logic, not impulse, reigns supreme. You cannot simply think your way out of these biases because they are hardwired into your brain to keep you safe in nature, but they destroy you in the markets. You must engineer your way out of them using tools that do not share your biology. The AI does not feel the anchor. It does not feel the pain of a loss, and it does not feel the urge to follow the herd. By filtering your decisions through this lens, you strip away the human weakness and leave only the strategic intent. This is how you win the cognitive war against the machines. You do not win by becoming a monk with perfect self-control. You win by building a fortress that does not allow your lack of self-control to destroy you. The AI is the wall, the gatekeeper, and the watchman that ensures your cognitive biases never reach the execution button. It is the realization that while you cannot change human nature, you can certainly change the mechanism through which that nature interacts with the financial world. The true measure of your transformation into a risk manager is the structural integrity of your defenses. Having understood the external threats in Part 1 and the internal biases in Part 2, you must now move to build an invisible firewall that runs silently in the background of your trading terminal, making your platform structurally resistant to external algorithmic pressure and internal psychological failure. This is not a suggestion. It is the strategic architecture that ensures only disciplined actions are physically possible within your trading environment. Manual rules written on paper are useless when adrenaline is pumping, which is why we must replace fragile intentions with immutable code that enforces the plan you created during a moment of calm, rational clarity. This firewall begins with dynamic risk scaling. Most traders use static position sizing, the same risk amount regardless of volatility, time of day, or their recent mental state. This predictability is a weakness that algorithms actively exploit. Your AI firewall is different. It automatically adjusts your position size not just based on market volatility, but on your real-time execution quality. If your last 5 trades showed poor adherence to your planned entry timing or execution parameters, the AI reduces your next position size by a precise percentage, treating poor execution quality as a measurable increase in systemic risk. It recognizes that if you are sloppy, you must trade smaller, turning your own performance into a live risk metric. This dynamic risk scaling mechanism means your capital is protected from your own incompetence. It enforces the professional standard that risk must be proportional to confidence and current ability. If the system detects signs of revenge trading or hurried entries, your position sizing shrinks instantly, removing the capacity for hubris to cause catastrophic damage. This structural check ensures that the emotional volatility of the individual cannot contaminate the financial consistency of the system, guaranteeing that you are always in the game but never overexposed due to arrogance or fatigue. The firewall must also enforce time-based lockouts. Algorithmic activity often spikes during specific high volatility hours or around key news events, precisely when human emotional decision-making is at its weakest and most likely to break down. Your AI is programmed with your specific risk tolerance for these periods. If you attempt a discretionary trade during a predefined risky period, the volatile market open or the final hour on Friday, the firewall enforces a temporary lock, preventing you from engaging in predictable, fatigue-driven gambling. Crucially, the invisible firewall eliminates the risk of manual stop adjustment. Moving a stop loss is the #1 sin of an emotional trader, driven by the desperate, irrational hope that the market will reverse if given just a little more room. The algorithmic shadow is counting on you committing this act of fear to sweep up your shares cheaply. Your firewall makes it physically impossible to commit this sin. Any attempt to widen a stop loss after the trade is live results in an immediate, hard-coded pop-up requiring a manual two-factor authentication, which includes typing out, "I am overriding my risk plan and accepting total responsibility for potential ruin." This friction is the necessary psychological deterrent, forcing you to confront the gravity of your emotional override. Furthermore, the firewall manages your systematic energy drain. Trading is a finite game of cognitive energy, and your performance degrades as you get tired. AI integrates with external biometrics, not for medical diagnosis, but for a simple system readiness score. Low sleep quality, high resting heart rate variability, or excessive screen time triggers a firewall alert that automatically reduces available leverage. This ensures you never trade with an impaired mind. This structural intervention is the ultimate expression of Brian Tracy's emphasis on energy management for peak performance. It treats your mind as an asset that must be protected and managed, not just used until it breaks from stress. This unique accountability system forces a tangible reckoning with the psychological price of your poor decisions. You can see exactly how much your emotions are costing you, not just in lost profits, but in actual capital value. This transparency is painful but necessary for growth. It shines a powerful light on the hidden leaks in your game that you have been ignoring. Building this structure requires accepting that your mind is the most vulnerable entry point for the market's secret control. By implementing the invisible firewall, you are permanently sealing that entry point against external exploitation. You stop relying on the unstable internal mechanism of willpower, and instead rely on the flawless external mechanism of a code. This transition is not about weakness. It is about strength through superior engineering. You become a cyborg trader not through complexity, but through simplified, automated adherence to logic. The firewall does not limit your freedom. It protects your survival and ensures that you are still in the game long enough for your true structural edge to play out. It is the ultimate insurance policy against your own worst day. The identity change is complete. You are no longer an emotional gambler or a hopeful speculator. You are a cyborg trader and a risk manager. Your trading decisions are utterly detached from immediate profit and loss. They are measured purely by system adherence. Your focus is no longer the price action flashing red or green, but the rigorous confirmation that you followed your logic at every single step. This is the new standard of professionalism, a shift from seeking fortune to demanding procedural excellence, knowing that fortune is merely the inevitable byproduct of that excellence. The human element provides the brilliant strategy, while the machine element provides the unbreakable discipline required for execution. This is the psychological state described by Jack Schwager after interviewing dozens of the world's most successful traders, the market wizards. Schwager concluded that the single defining factor of success was the unbending discipline to a set of rules and an absolute faith in their edge. AI is the tool that makes this discipline unbending, relentless, and error-free for every single trade. You no longer have to rely on your motivation after a sleepless night or your confidence after a huge win. You are reliant on a system that works flawlessly, independent of your personal energy. providing the consistency that algorithms cannot exploit. The silent master achieves P&L detachment. Through automated journaling and objective feedback, a market loss is immediately filed as a statistical occurrence, a calculated cost of doing business, divorced entirely from personal failure or shame. The AI reinforces that the only leading indicator of your long-term success is the quality of your execution, the adherence to the plan, while the profit and loss is a lagging probabilistic outcome that evens out over time. This frees you from the emotional roller coaster that destroys most careers, transforming the act of trading from an existential battle into a logistical operation. This deep, structural change results in immediate psychological equilibrium. You are freed from the constant, exhausting hormonal battles of fear and greed. Because the AI manages the risk parameters, you are psychologically guaranteed that no single trade can cause ruin, which is the necessary prerequisite for rational thought. This longevity is the hidden victory. You stop wasting mental energy fighting yourself and redirect all that power towards strategic development, market observation, and finding the next high-probability setup. The new edge you wield is augmented consistency. While the algorithmic shadow seeks to exploit human inconsistency and erratic behavior, your AI system creates perfect, personalized consistency that the machines cannot break. It enforces the rules, manages the risk parameters, and ensures you are trading only when your physiological and psychological readiness score is high. This reliable, repeatable process is what defeats the high-frequency shadow, because your behavior becomes objectively and structurally sound. You stop being a vulnerable pattern and start being an unpredictable wall of logic. This level of structural consistency successfully protects your career by destroying greed at its source. The urge to hold a winning trade far past its logical target is driven by the fear of missing out on the maximum possible profit. The AI combats this delusion with dynamic exits, based purely on objective volatility metrics, not emotional targets. If the volatility of the asset shrinks, a sign that institutional money is easing its foot off the gas, the AI automatically tightens the trailing stop, preserving capital based on market facts, not human desire or fantasy. This commitment to career longevity means you are transforming your trading from a high-stress, short-term struggle into a low-stress, high-efficiency profession. By automating the defense against revenge trading and emotional burnout, you successfully preserve the mental capital necessary for sustained performance. You are setting yourself up for a multi-decade career characterized by calm, detached analysis. The exact opposite of the panic-driven cycle that consumes 95% of traders. The competitive imperative is absolute. In an arena populated by increasingly sophisticated algorithms, the unassisted human trader is, simply put, obsolete. The AI is not a luxury or an optional add-on. It is the minimum requirement for surviving and thriving in this new, technologically advanced market epoch. You must embrace the technology that protects your greatest strengths, intuition and creativity, while eliminating your greatest weaknesses, fear and impulse. The cyborg mindset represents the apex of self-mastery, achieving perfect discipline through technological aid. You have systematically deleted the psychological bugs and successfully installed the high-performance operating system of logic and probability. You have built an impenetrable fortress around your capital, defended by verifiable data and immutable code. You are no longer trading with mere hope. You are executing a proven, protected process that guarantees longevity and consistency. The new narrative for your life is simple. You have moved from fighting the market to controlling your environment. You stop betting on price movement. You start systematically exploiting the difference between your controlled, disciplined environment and the chaos of the uncontrolled market. This is the difference between a fool's hope and a professional process. You are the anomaly the algorithms cannot reliably predict because your actions are driven by objective code, not predictable emotion. The final choice you face today is critical. You can continue the grueling, ultimately futile battle of willpower against your own biology, or you can leverage the most powerful tool of the 21st century to forge a new, stronger, more consistently profitable trading mind. The era of struggling against yourself is over. The era of augmenting yourself has decisively begun. The final transformation is now complete. The brain of the modern trader is rewired, augmented, and fortified. The only remaining step is the commitment to this robust, repeatable, and high-performance system. Embrace the machine and claim your psychological edge. Subscribe to Mind for Trade. Join the evolution. Let's make the machine the master of your discipline. Together.